Hello and welcome back to another episode of Wisdom to Win podcast. I am your host, Ray J. Johnson, and I am here today again, part two, with Phyllis M. Weaver. We were talking in our last conversation. We kind of ran out of time, so I asked Phyllis to come back and to continue the conversation with us. So, Phyllis, let's continue to talk about the way that you have come up with reclaiming your power and thriving beyond divorce, trauma, and chronic illness, I should say. Tell us a little bit about your story because there is something that you experienced that led you down this particular path.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Ray J. Doctor. Um, Thank you so
Speak
much
it,
for
girl. Speak it. Dr. Ray, speak it. I'll accept it.
thank you for bringing me back on today. And yes, it was quite a journey. Quite a journey. It was a 17-year marriage, but we were actually together for 20. And he was my best friend. He was my everything. And so when things were started to, when I realized that it wasn't going to be like a forever to death do you part kind of thing till we're like old and gray and, you know, using our cane to walk. And I was just pretty devastated. And through our whole marriage, I supported him in all of his dreams. He wanted to um, have a business. I supported that. I supported him with all of his different degrees. He had got a couple masters and he was doing his thing. And but I was, doing everything else. He was, so, taking care of his dreams, but I was taking care of the family, the bills, the kids, making sure everything was, like clicking and still working. And so it was, when we, broke up and it was time to get all of the financials straight, um, I ended up getting the short end of the stick. So through all of that, it was so much stress, and I was developing so many monster migraine headaches and having some physical ailments that just didn't know what was happening with me. I was seeing neurologists and all kinds of other doctors, and so it wasn't until after I was divorced that found out that all along I had been having these underlying um, autoimmune issues and inflammatory issues that were finally diagnosed as lupus and fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and a whole lot of other things. But it was quite stressful because I was the breadwinner. And so when it was all over, I ended up, a lot of times you see on TV and everything how the woman is the one that gets it all. She
Yeah.
gets the house, she gets the alimony, she gets the child support. Well, this time it was the other way. I felt like I was in this movie that I saw a long time ago where it was this young lady. She had been doing everything. She put her husband through law school. She did this, that, and the other. She stopped all of her dreams just so she could support him. And then he broke up with her almost immediately after he had started, you know, he was doing good. So
So wait a minute. So he got the momentum going. You did all of the sacrificing because it sounds like a waiting to exhale moment to me.
Oh, you know what? It is similar to that movie too.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's starting to sound like a waiting to exhale. And so I put my dreams behind
yes.
everything. You didn't have a dollar sale, did you?
Oh my goodness, I hadn't even thought about that, but it really did. It felt like that movie. And she was like, she was like so devastated. She was left with nothing. And so, I think it
And
was because of,
did you all have children?
yes, we had two sons, and yes, we had two children. And so it was really rough on them, because we had to deal with the custody and going back and forth. And um,
Now, in the state that you're in, is there shared custody or is there one parent that becomes the custodial parent and then the other one gets visitations? How did that work wherever you were at
where
the
I
time?
was at
Yeah.
that time, we did have shared, but you did have to have a primary. And
Okay.
so he was considered the primary. I just felt like it was so unfair, because of my work schedule. He said that, his schedule was better for the kids because the hours were shorter and was more regular than mine. And so it was 60-40. So it was almost like 50-50, but I still ended up having to pay the child support and all that kind of good stuff like that.
Yeah, because you're
And
right. You usually don't hear that the I'll just say the custodial, the one that pretty much has them the majority of the time is usually the mom because judges usually award we'll say nurturer, in the family, the mom usually is the one that has the children. But was this because he did not have viable income at the time? Was that the deciding factor on who actually had them the majority of the time?
that was pretty much the deciding factor, but unfortunately, we weren't able to have the judge determine that because I would totally believe with all my heart that if we had been able to still see the judge in court, then it would have gone on my side, in my favor, because
Mhm.
I had witnesses, I had affidavits, I had all of that. But at the time when we went, they ran out of time to hear cases,
Mhm.
and my attorney wouldn't would sign up for another court date
Okay.
until I
Hmm.
paid all of the money that I owed, and
Oh,
I didn't have it. So
okay.
I didn't have it.
So
I
you ended
was
up paying everyone's legal fees, his and yours.
pretty much because I was the only one that had any kind of money saved. I was the only one with a 401k, and he ended up getting half of my 401k, and
Mm.
he used that to get the best attorney in the area, the best divorce attorney in the area, where I was using it to, kind of pick up pieces.
Mhm.
And anyway, that's just kind of way that played out. And so we ended up going into mediation instead of actually seeing the judge, which
Well, so I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I know that we pretty are heavy into this part right now. And I just want, for those of you that may have just joined us, either listening or watching via YouTube, this is Ray J. Johnson, your host of Wisdom to Win podcast. And I am talking with my guest today. This is part two of what we were discussing before, reclaiming your power, thriving beyond divorce, trauma, and chronic illness with Phyllis M. Weaver, who is one of the premier Discover Ultimate Health Coaches in the United States. Yes, I just gave that title to you. I so as let's just kind of for the sake of time, because I know everyone is probably on the edge of their seat and nail biting, you talked about illness, how all of this stress and everything that was on your shoulders behind the breakup, the divorce, the financial distress, all of this calamity and collision happened in your life, and you started noticing migraine headaches.
I had already had migraine headaches pretty much at the beginning of our marriage. I had already started experiencing them, um, but they intensified. But one other thing I wanted to add that kind of made the stress level even higher
Mm-hmm.
when all of this was going on with the divorce. My mother passed away. um, she had an aneurysm and a stroke.
Oh,
And right, it was like everything was like happening all at one time. And that year, I didn't think that I was even going to survive.
mm,
My mental capacity was was already at the level where my brain was about to shut down.
mm,
And so it was just too much. So, what I wanted to say about the mediation part, is that's the part that it just broke me down. I was just, okay, I just want to get this over with.
mm-hmm,
I just whatever. Just, just, just get it over with. Just get it over with. And so then, yeah, I started having more migraines. The migraines were so bad that my neurologist would use me as um, a talking point for all of his interns who would
oh
come in.
wow.
And he'd say, okay, here's one of my patients. I want you to hear her story. And so my migraine experiences and my auras and everything were so out of this world that I was fascinating. So I was a special case study. And so yeah, I had the super crazy migraines, and then the muscle aches and the um, difficulty sleeping, and uh, my blood sugar would drop. A lot of people have hyperglycemia, which is diabetes. I usually have hypoglycemia, where my blood sugar likes to drop.
And that's
And it's
dangerous too. Either way,
very
if it's
dangerous.
elevated or too low, that's dangerous, life threatening.
Yes, it makes me get really weak, and I have even passed out because my blood sugar is so low.
Oh my.
And so I can always tell, especially when I'm at work, because of those long hours, I'll start getting lightheaded, I'll start feeling dizzy, and I'll start swaying back like I'm about to faint. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, I gotta stop. I gotta get something to eat. I need some sugar. Somebody got some crackers, because I know when I was in college, that happened to me. I actually um, passed out in my dorm room, and I hit my head on my foot locker. We had foot lockers back then. And I hit
Ooh.
my head on the foot locker, and I don't know how long I was out on the floor.
Now that's a big, like chest, big,
Right.
square, rectangle looking kind of
It
suitcase that might be about 2 feet high off the
was
floor and about, you know, 2.5 to 3 feet wide, depending. And it's heavy.
it is
It's
heavy.
what they used to call back in the day a steamer trunk, right?
Yes.
It looks like a trunk, and it's got
Yes.
metal pieces on it.
On
And
the
so
ends.
those that may have new suitcases or of a certain younger age, they may not know what we're talking about. Just
Yes.
imagine something like that and you hit your head. I mean, that is
I
not
hit
gonna hit
my
your
head
head.
on it.
Oh my God. You had a
I had,
concussion, I know.
yes. And so the next morning I had to go to work, and at the hospital. It was I was a student at the University of Virginia, and I was working at the University of Virginia Medical um, Hospital.
Okay.
And so I talked to my supervisor and I told her what had happened. And she was the one that said, I think that you might have diabetes because I have diabetes and all your symptoms that you were saying that you experienced last night sounds like diabetes. And long story short, I ended up in the hospital for a whole week. And that's when they determined what was wrong with me. And so, yeah, but like back to our subject of stress, all of the stress and how it can um, cause chronic illnesses, the stress of divorce, the stress of any type of major event in your life can trigger all types of ailments. And type 2 diabetes is definitely one. Migraine headaches is one. And also high blood pressure.
Hmm.
And a lot of that is all tied together. And so it's important for us to recognize when we are starting to um, feel symptoms. Sometimes you can't even feel them, but you have to monitor yourself and know when you're at like a stress point where, okay, it's time for me to back off. I need to, get somewhere quiet, take some deep breaths, and, you know, calm down for a minute. Because sometimes you can feel your heart racing, sometimes you can't.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes, your body is like doing all kinds of things um, and you don't realize it. That's why they call high blood pressure the silent killer.
Yes. Yes.
And so, your blood pressure can be like really high. And when you're starting to feel it, like you're getting like a headache, like I know sometimes like right in my cheeks will
Yes.
start tingling. And I've even had nosebleeds.
Mm.
And so when you're at that point, that level is way high. So
And then
you don't want
sometimes
to
you
you don't
don't.
want to wait that
Right.
long.
And then sometimes you may not have any symptoms, and well, I'll say this, you won't have any awareness of
Right.
some symptoms that you may have had, or you'll excuse them away. And all of a sudden, boom, you hit the floor, knocked out, passed out, confused, not knowing what's going on. And that could be either blood sugar is too high, or you may have suffered a heart attack or even a stroke. So let me just say this is in no way, as my disclaimer, a medical diagnosis from either Phyllis or myself, because we are not doctors. However, this is her experience, her medical um, discovery that she had on her own self about the disorder she was experiencing physically due to the stress that she had in her life. So, if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, or maybe others that we have not mentioned, and you have not sought out your physician, please do so, because we do know that stress is a killer. And it is
Yes.
a killer because of the types of things that your body does to react negatively to certain things that's going on in your life and around your environment. So we just wanted to put that disclaimer out there because we don't want anybody to go, oh my God, I had that happen to me. Oh my God, I have a headache. Maybe I'm having, no, we don't
Right.
want that to happen. But do check with your medical professional, your physician, and see what may be going on with you, especially if you are in a stressful situation such as separation and divorce. And Phyllis, with all that you had experienced, what did you do to reclaim your power, to be able to thrive beyond all of the stuff that you experienced, the divorce, the trauma, and the chronic illness that you experienced?
Well, first of all, I want to say that it wasn't me. Um, if it wasn't for my faith, that was number one. I relied on that Bible and prayer. Um, there was a first thing I did in the morning and the last thing I did before I went to bed, and I even had scriptures on postcards, on note cards. And so I would even take them to work, and I would like certain ones that I needed to, that I knew that I needed to help me with stress, to help me through my day. I had them right there, and I would periodically look at it. And so it was that. And then I saw I had a psychiatrist. Believe it or not, I had a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a psychoanalyst. I'm like, oh my goodness, I had no idea I was seeing all these different kind of people.
Mm,
But because of all of that I was going through, that they helped me to develop some better coping skills.
mm-hmm.
And then when I was, um, having all of those, when I was at the point where I couldn't hardly walk, I couldn't hardly breathe, um, all of that, I just prayed and I just forced myself. I was not about to just lay in a bed and just die and feel sorry for myself. So I did research and just decided it's something that you have to decide to do.
Mm-hmm.
Either I'm going to stay and wallow in this and believe this ill report. It's like, whose report do you want to believe? I'm going to believe the report of the Lord. Um, so my report was, okay, you're supposed to be well. You're supposed to be healed. So I just decided to do that. I changed the way I looked at my life. I it's a mindset. It's a mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you get your strategies together, so okay, what do I need to do? Let's look at what I'm eating. Let's look at what I'm drinking. Let's look at how much sleep am I getting? Let's look at how am I managing this stress? Am I exercising enough? Is it going to hurt? Yes, it's going to hurt like crazy. It's going to hurt.
But you're already hurting. So
Yes,
hurt in the positive and not in the negative,
yes,
right? So that you
yes.
can
It's
move
like,
yourself
yeah,
forward because eventually that hurt
right.
of positive won't hurt anymore.
Right, because it hurt just to move. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, but you have to get those muscles going in the positive direction
Mm-hmm.
because, as long as you're not doing anything, you're going to continue to have like those stress hormones developing. And the more you get the stress hormones developing, that's what causes the cortisol buildup, and you start to gain weight. And then, if your blood sugar is acting crazy, then you might end up getting that what they call like insulin resistance and metabolic um, imbalances and all of that good stuff. And then you get all of these inflammatory responses. So I decided, even though it was gonna be challenging, I had some hand weights, and I would start first. I would lift some weights. You just do a little bit at a time, and
Small little
oh,
incremental habits.
right.
Yeah.
Small things. And I started doing stretches. Stretching is one of the best things that you can do.
Yes, absolutely
Stretching
needed.
is, yes, it's one of the best things you can do, because it elongs your muscles. It helps you with your balance and strength, just everything overall. And
Now you have
so,
a guide that you've actually put together that helps talking about self-care doing this. So really learning how to take care of yourself and putting yourself first is how you can reclaim your power, thriving
yes.
through all of the stuff that we've talked about and covered in both of these sessions. And I just want to thank you so much for being vulnerable and transparent and telling us your story and what happened as a result of the stress that came behind that. And now knowing that your mindset would not allow you to just accept whatever the doctor said. I mean, I'm sure seeing all of these psychoanalytical people, there were some medications that were probably prescribed, and there's no telling what that made you feel like or how that worked for you. How are your children now? They are young teenagers, college, adult.
Oh, they are adults now. They are all grown up and they're doing their thing. And um, one of the things, though, that they said when we were going through all of this, they said, I'm never going to get married.
Oh no.
That's so. So I hope that they don't continue with that mindset, but it's, whatever is best for them. So they're not married.
But
Not
it's not necessarily the institution of marry, because you don't marry, you marry a
right,
person. And
right.
so, you have to make sure that you all are one aligned with your goals. Sometimes
Yes.
some people grow beyond the other person because they feel like, oh, I'll help them. They'll eventually get there. And you have to have those hard conversations early on before you even start talking about, getting married to someone, to make sure that that is your forever person. We don't want to get married to get divorced. That is not the purpose
No.
to that, right? So
Right.
we are going to be ending. Oh my gosh, this conversation went so fast.
It
What
did
is
go
the one
so
little
fast.
what is the one little nugget of wisdom that you can leave us um to win at this?
To win at this is always remember your worth, your self-worth. No matter what you've gone through, no matter what the struggle, that is not who you are. That's what you experienced. And because of those experiences, that makes you who you are. And you never know how strong you are until you are going through it and you come out and and you and you are here. You're still here and you're doing your thing. You didn't
Thank
let it
you.
stop you.
Don't let it stop you. Thank you so much, Phyllis. Look, in the description box below, everyone, I will have all of the contact information,
Oh,
and
that's
Phyllis
what you
has a
told
little
me to
something
do.
to give you, and that's your book on reversing diabetes, correct?
Yes.
And so you're going to get all of her information in the links
Can you
below.
see this?
You will be able to, I think you needed to put it up, like put your hand
How do
up
you
under
do it? How do you do it?
the
Oh,
camera.
like this?
You're missing. Okay, there it is, right there. Don't move, don't move. And
Can
so
you see
this is the
it?
guide that you're actually going to get access to. We're going to put all of that information in the links below in the description box so that you can click into that, get in touch with Phyllis. All of her contact information is going to be there for you. Phyllis, we are so appreciative of you coming back and giving us a little bit more wisdom to win. I am your host, Ray J. Johnson, and you know how I end this thing. I love you to life and on purpose. And I'll see you on the other side in the next episode of Wisdom to Win. And let's win together. Bye for now.